I'm Louise Ainsworth, Chief Executive for the UK for Kantar Millward Brown, and I'm delighted to be here on the beach with the ARF.
I'm Nigel Hollis, Chief Global Analyst at Millward Brown, and it's great to be here with the Advertising Research Foundation on the beach at Cannes.
I'm Mark Rappin, the Chief Marketing Officer for the Advertising Research Foundation. What's your take on what's going on in the industry today?
Well, I think the industry is really struggling right now to figure out a way forward when we're facing fragmentation on so many different levels. We've got media fragmentation we've had for a while now, but we've got brand fragmentation happening, and we've got cultural fragmentation happening. Plus, the industry seems to be moving, from my perspective, in a direction which is slightly concerning, which is this whole trend towards marketing in the moment, taking advantage of all the behavioral data out there to try and catch people on the fly as they're in the purchasing process. Right. And I think that is actually undermining the power of advertising, certainly in the way that brands were built in the past.
I'm going to switch to mobile video for a second.
Okay.
We found that many of our members were, to a large degree and for efficiencies, they're taking what they're running on television and moving it over to the mobile device. And so last year, we had a bunch of research that said that wasn't really the best way to do it, that you needed to actually create for the mobile device, or at least amend for the mobile device.
Yeah, and I think there's a huge differentiation between the clients who are actually getting into this and testing and optimizing the content so that it actually works in the context, because to your point earlier, context is hugely important, and the way that video works will be very different from the mobile and even online than it is from on TV. So yeah, absolutely getting it right for the context. And then also we have clients who are pre-testing mobile video assets in context and doing that at scale globally. So if the people who aren't doing that are falling behind.
I think one of the big issues is that particularly with so much consumption is happening on mobile devices, particularly for Gen Z, the younger folks. The issue is that we have to earn their attention. Unfortunately, the real challenge is we know that on a mobile, how Facebook is consumed is very different from how YouTube's consumed. So our metrics actually have to be different when we look at the impact of those two different formats.
Louise, let me switch gears here. One of our most active communities is women in analytics. What advice, counsel would you give to women coming up in the industry today?
From my perspective, one of the points that I've noticed for women in analytics and more generally in the business is really about self-confidence and not being too hard on yourself. I think women can be very self-critical and be the first to sort of imagine that they've made a mistake and that it's not working well. And I would always say, have the confidence to learn from your mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. The mistakes are the moment when actually we add the most in some ways. So my biggest piece of advice to women is definitely embrace your mistakes and forgive yourself when you make them.
What are the biggest needs for where we need to see change in the industry, and what do you think the innovations are that are going to try to address those in the near future?
So from my point of view, and I'm relatively fresh to the research world. I used to work agency side, and I've probably been in measurement and research for about 10 years. And I think the reason I came into the industry was, for me, you cannot drive great creative work and you cannot transform a brand without having insights at the fingertips of everybody, all the different stakeholders through the client business, but also the agencies and the ecosystem that they work with. And I really hope that the transformation that we will see over the next 5 to 10 years is actually partly about fantastic new technologies and ways of measuring, but actually much more about how we're bringing that to the decision makers in the business. We've talked about how people need to be able to make decisions and learn from them at every level within the business. Well, how can we help make that happen through insight? How can we help actually people to understand what the brand's trying to achieve?
Nigel?
Well, I would like to believe that what we're going to see is a return to more sensible use of data, because we have such a wealth of information out there. Yes, everybody's trying to grapple with how to pull it all together, but without the application of what are we trying to achieve, how do we think this is going to work, but much, much more important is actually going beyond the data and producing what I would call real insights.
Right.
The ones that transform your understanding and allow you to change things for the future, not just tweak current behavior.
We appreciate your time. We really appreciate you being part of the ARF Leadership Series. So thank you very much.
Thank you.